Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far, and some spicy drama going on right now ahead of the Call of Duty 2023 season. Clayster versus Scrappy has been kicking off at this point for quite a few months, and it went to a new level last night. Scrappy with a few spicy words for Clayster, and Clayster has responded saying this guy's got to up his game, and Clay's got one of the most impressive Call of Duty careers of all time. Very much enjoy your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thanks very much indeed for doing that one. Plenty to dive into. Firstly, we've got to ask the question, what about Bocage compared to the maps in this game? Los Angeles Guerrillas reckon that Bocage is better than Fortress. And what do you guys think about this? Because Bocage was like an absolute mess of a map. But let's be honest here, it's probably larger than, I mean, look at Shoothouse, for example. Obviously, Shoothouse is just like a weapon camo rank up type map. But still, Bocage is probably bigger than some of those maps. It was incredibly chaotic and ridiculous in Vanguard. But is it really that much worse, if any, than Fortress, to be honest? Like, I don't really know if it is. It was at least viable for the different game modes apart from Control. So yeah, I'm not saying I want Bocage back at all, but I am saying that comparing the Bocage map set to this year's map set might not be all that much different as we might have expected going into the season. Quick comment on ProjectX actually, because this is 100 Thieves, new game they're working on. Like, look, I'm just hoping that Call of Duty gets a bit more competition, because I think we've seen really that COD can do whatever it wants, and like, it doesn't matter how bad the game is, it's still going to sell an unbelievable number of copies. The Halo competition hasn't really been there. The Battlefield competition hasn't really been there. So look, I don't know what X is cooking up over at X Defiance. I know what 100 Thieves are cooking up here at ProjectX, and they're 8 weeks into work, and they've got some exclusive looks as to exactly what the game looks like. And well, I don't know if they've really shown much here, but the team was playing it and having a good time. So they basically did a playtest a while ago as well on one of the early prototypes. Hopefully they can do a good job with this one, because I think Call of Duty needs the competition from a competitive perspective, to be perfectly honest. Quick comment on Mr. Doug St. Martin. He's not been having the greatest time as of late. What do you guys think is Doug's future here? Because obviously he's on the Boston Breach Academy right now, alongside Kremp, formerly known as Volance, or Kywin, right, was his name before. He's got Shawnee there as well, his long-lost cousin that have now found each other again. And then Boston Beans, who's one of the, top prospects in the Challenger side this season. Certainly was last year, proved to be one of the best. Probably people are expecting he's going to get a shot at some point this season on the Boston team. If they don't do so well, Beans should probably come in at some point, because the team knows over there, the coaching staff knows this guy is next up. So he's currently teaming with Doug St. Martin on the Boston Breach Academy, and that they didn't have the greatest results at Challengers 1. Yes, their seeding was kind of affected badly by the fact that MLG messed up transitioning Beans' pro points over. They only came top 16 though. They're going to need to deliver more than that going forward if they actually want to make it to the Pro-Am, which is what they're going to need to do if, Doug and the others want to really make a name for themselves this season. Now, Doug tweeted something out last night, which since got deleted, so again, I screenshotted it because I knew it was going to happen. Accuracy says, asking the wrong people. I really hope Doug is trolling. He basically said, GA the M4 immediately at /red accuracy, kind of implying those guys are the GA commissioners, and now, well, those guys reckon that actually that's not the case anymore. They don't make the calls, and Doug is asking the wrong people for help on this one. But obviously, he hasn't been having the greatest time lately. People were talking that Doug last night dropped 6 kills in back-to-back maps. I don't know if that's true. Like, I couldn't really find any evidence of it, just quickly scrolling through, unfortunately. Like, I tried, he doesn't have past broadcast, so I had to rely on people clipping stuff in his stream. I couldn't really find it. I did find this image of him in Control here, dropping 11 kills, where the rest of his team, it's a map file, round 5 Control. You'd think more than 11 would be feasible here. Beans has 31, Shawnee has 30, Kremp has 27, the other team all has, 23, 25 and above, and Doug's got 11, so it's not looking so good for him. I must say that really Infinity Ward games don't seem to be Doug's bread and butter in general, and so far in this title, he's not exactly been looking spectacular. He had about a 0.68 KD or 0.65 KD or something in our kind of Breaking Point next tourney as well a few days ago, so not sure it's really Doug's game. The thing is, would they get rid of, because Doug was actually a decent player I thought last season. This year, I'm not so sure that's the case, to be honest, at least so far. So what did Boston Academy do? Because they obviously want Doug for the personality and the branding and for who Sensor is, but if they're not really performing and achieving the results, then what do they consider doing as a result of that, right? I don't really know what the thought process is there. At the same time, I'm sure Doug is always going to be a good teammate to a certain extent, because look, he's got 7 captures. Like, this guy's always throwing himself in the control point, on the hard point, planting the bombs. So that's got to be a helpful aspect, but if you're getting outside heavily, it's not always so easy. So yeah, I wonder what's going to happen with the Boston Breach in the future if they, don't deliver the goods, or if they do deliver the goods at the start of the season. They haven't started quite as well as I think they would have hoped for, let's just say. But Doug isn't the only veteran on the scene, of course. This is World War II Crimsix, who I agree with Brian's stats of one of the more underrated players, to be honest, in COD history, because, like, despite OpTic not having a great season, that was arguably one of Crim's best games. But we've also got, former teammate of Crim in Clayster, who's still kicking around the scene this year, and I'm hoping that Clayster can do a good job, because he got this opportunity yet again here on the Vegas Legion, of course. It was a question whether he would take that chance, whether he wouldn't take that chance, but he's been looking rather good so far, as have Vegas themselves. But Clayster has been catching a fair few strays from other players, some of the younger guys in the league, roasting Clayster a little bit for being too old and being past it and all this type of stuff. I'm sure Clay expects this to happen to a certain extent, but still, some of the comments are pretty spicy, especially coming out from none other than Scrappy himself. And even as Attack says, no way the young'uns are calling you Grayster now. So I thought this was pretty funny, to be honest. So yeah, Clayster, Grayster, I thought it was pretty good. And look, the guy's 30 when the season begins. He's going to be 30 by the end of the season. I think he'll be 31 if he lasts the entire season. So I'm really hoping that he can have a good year. Of course, an AR player. Scump is now 27, but we know that he's retiring at the end of the season. Slasher's 28, but he hasn't really shown any signs of slowing down either. So yeah, if Clay can deliver, hopefully he can. Of course, Vegas in general the last few years, or Legion, has been kind of the last chance saloon. If it doesn't work on Legion, it's kind of tough to find another spot, but it has happened to some players over the last couple of years, but admittedly few and far between. Temp and Kismet, I believe, are the only guys that have been on Paris in the last 3 years and are still in the league. Hopefully it happens to Clay, but they're going to need to deliver the results, and there's been some drama the last few days suggesting that might not be the case. But yeah, Scrappy and Standy calling Clayster Grayster. Clayster wasn't so happy about it. He responded to them and said that basically he's going to take them down this season. They're going to get fried by him. They can talk all the trash they want. They don't have 3 rings. They don't have the career that he has, and they still don't have the ability that he's got in the back pocket.
Clay? Bro, what is up with this Grayster shit, bro? I'm your dad. All of your dads. Scrappy and Standy, you Toronto weirdos, bro. You little Zoomer jerk-offs, bro.
I don't want
when you guys get 1 ring, you might be able to say something. Like, Zach. Hey, Zach, what's up, my boy? What's up, my boy, Zach? You know?
Okay, gang.
You know, that'll talk to you guys, you know? Like, I'll even have a conversation with you at that point, you know?
I'm actually crying.
I like AJ. AJ's not a jerk-off, bro. See, these guys, eLLeY and Scrappy, going to annihilate them on LAN, bro. When we are sitting across from each other on main stage, I'm going to be screaming at these motherfuckers, and they're going to be like, damn, maybe I shouldn't have talked all that. These guys just be chirping all the time, act like I ain't got one of the best Call of Duty careers in history, and I'm still about to come back with this Vegas team and fry their shit this year, bro. Clip this shit, and at the end of the year, tweet it at me. And then we just get on all year. I get benched, and everyone just starts tweeting me this clip.
So this drama, I think, between Scrappy and Clayster has been brewing a little bit for the last couple of months. Like, we know that Scrappy wants the smoke from anyone, right? This guy is not going to back down. If there's any chal, if there's any gunfight, if there's any Twitter, Twitter fingers fight that he can have, he's going to go for it. And even Clay says this the other day, your whole team runs my class, we saw this. This even was from back in July. You guys might remember talking about this. So Toronto Ultra Academy, of course, NA, that Scrappy was on. As Clay says, no way, we just had Ultra Academy NA compare themselves to Atlanta FaZe. I can't believe these are real people. So this is at the time Clayster was in challenges. I guess he was scrimming up against Scrappy and co on the Ultra NA Academy team. And, for whatever reason, they might have compared themselves to, Atlanta FaZe, just basically being the Atlanta FaZe of the challenger scene, I guess is what they were trying to say. Scrappy wasn't so happy about it. And even then, Clay replies with this, kind of from Infinite Warfare here, which is Scrappy, a young Scrappy on stream, winning around 10. And as Scrappy says, it went from this to waxing you, came a long way. So this is all the way back in July here, where this is starting to kick off. We've seen more than that, over the last few days as well. And then Clay is now coming out with his response, saying that they've got to be on their guard this season because Clay's going to take him down. Now look, will that clip come back to haunt him, as he says, right? He thinks he's going to do pretty well. Maybe the team goes terribly wrong, he gets dropped and it all goes downhill. I hope that isn't the case. I don't know if it's got anything to do with the current meta, but, I think Clay's been looking pretty good so far. The early part of Cold War with the XM4, he was very good as well. When the M4 got banned, okay, Clay went a little bit downhill maybe, but in general, Clayster's relatively good at the start of titles, and hopefully it's the case here with Vegas. Of course, the concern is to Vegas, as we've talked about before, the whole coaching staff situation, right? Temp, Clay, Prelude, and Theory. Can Theory and Temp and Clayster really work it out long term if they start to have poor performances? Nadeshot has said that he's heard that kind of passive-aggressive tone in the way they talk to each other, and he doesn't really believe that's indicative of long-term success. But look, as long as this Legion squad is better than top 12, if they can even be in the fight to make the World Championship, that's a pretty impressive season. season. But can they compete with Toronto? Because Toronto, to me, going into the season, should be around the top 5 mark in terms of how good their team should be. Legion should not theoretically be that high, right? But hopefully if they have some good matches, Clay versus Scrappy is going to be a fun one. And it's not just one-way trash talk here, right? Clay is happy to clap back as well. And it's going to be spicy whenever they match up. It's going to be spicy whoever Scrappy plays, to be honest. But it's cool that Clayster's feeding into it, I thought. Speaking of Clay as well, because as he was saying, look, he's got a great career. What career has Scrappy had, right? Scrappy talks all this trash. Where's your event wins? Where's your world championship rings? Maybe you should be a bit more humble before your career's even started, I guess is the argument there. And even looking at this from Brian's stats, looking at some top KDs of all times, this is basically out of all the events that these players have ever attended, how many of these players have had the highest KD at a particular event. Crazy that Dashy is already at 7 events he's gone to that he's had the highest KD. Formal holds the record. Scump even, I mean, Scump is just by far and away the greatest SMG of all time. Like, to have these cover numbers. Simp is not even far behind in fairness, but Clayster here in number 6, so he's had 3 events where he's had the highest KD of any player at the event. A couple of those probably came back in Advanced Warfare, to be honest. When Clayster along with Formal were just absolute forces to be reckoned with the BAL. And even this to say, I thought was just interesting to note, because I believe these might be Alienware PCs people were talking about. And I guess maybe they're going to be the partner this season for the COD League. We saw Temp the other day talking about the fact that the League PCs are skipping around and not that good. And maybe they've got a new partner of the COD League this season. Not really sure what PCs they were using last year, but I mean, yeah, this is seemingly what they're using this year. The Thieves guys when they're practicing, because it makes sense to practice on the setups that they're going to be using for the real deal. Quick comment here from Esports Awards if you guys want something to do now. The Esports Awards voting is of course well and truly open. Usually it's in November sometime they do these, and there's many Call of Duty individuals up for nomination here. So from the casting side, Chance, Miles, Nameless, Alleycat, and from the player perspective, Thieves as Esports Team of the Year, then Pred as Rookie of the Year, and Kenny and Cellium as Esports Controller Player of the Year nominees. So pretty cool stuff. And just one final thing to mention, with the CDL Mosh Pit finally arriving, Omar put together a phenomenal, basically a documentary style video here on all the best weapon classes in Modern Warfare 2. So this is all the stuff you should be using, all the weapons, what the best classes are, what are the stuff that's been banned by the pros, what's the stuff that's still allowed, or just the stuff that you should be using in general, even if it is banned by the pros or whatever. So basically talking about what you should use, why you should use it, and what all the best classes are with all the best weapons right now. So I'll leave that linked in the description box below as well. But very much enjoy your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you are new, take care, and I'll see you next time.